Well, a wonderful good morning to you, Grenada, Cayuga, Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, to you, wherever you are. It is a wonderful, really wonderful Thursday morning. Indeed, it's a pleasure being here with you on Classic in the Morning Time, Classic 105.5 and 105.9 on the FM band. We say a special and warm and wonderful good morning to the viewers, just as you just joining us, or probably rejoining us on GBN Television, Channel 7, Channel 11, Channel 20 if you are in cable. And again, as we say, thank you and welcome again to those of you that's joining us on the different social media platforms, be it YouTube, Facebook, and we say thanks to those of you that's able to engage us via our WhatsApp portal. I'm Joseph Cador, and welcome to this another edition of To The Point for today, the 28th day of the month of July. Trust me, the month is fast spent, if not almost ended. But indeed, we are grateful that we are still here. We are alive and well and in the land of the living. My guest this morning, no stranger to the GBN, has become, I think we can safely say, he's almost become family. PC Troy Paul. Good morning, PC. Good morning, Constable. How are you?
Good morning. I am fine. I'm doing good. Excellent. I must admit, and good morning to all the listeners, your listeners as well.
Thank you for being here and being part of this discussions. I think we can safely say that Carnival is here.
Yes, it is. It is.
I think anybody who says otherwise, it has to be either for mischievous or ulterior motives, or they're not interested in Carnival at all. But whether you are interested in Carnival, yes or no, Carnival is here. The season is here, and we know it is an active, very, very, very busy season.
Yes, it is.
For the Royal Grenada Police Force, a number of activities at different points, and certainly the issue of safety at homes, traffic regulations, all of those things, those issues, those concerns, they brought even the greater focus at that time of the month, that time of the year. But I know that the RGPF has a plan. I'm not worried about that.
Yes, we always have a plan, and for a noble institution as the RGPF kicking off the Carnival season, we definitely have planned. Last night we saw the kickoff of the National Queen Show, and I must say congratulations to all the participants, and especially to Miss St. George's. But however, we have a number of events forthcoming. We have Saturday, we have the Children's Carnival Frolic, and then we're moving speedily ahead with the other shows carded for the season. So the traffic department, by extension the Royal Grenada Police Force, has a plan in place for all those events, and we want to make sure that persons get to their destination safely with little or minimal obstruction or no obstruction at all. And we also make sure that adequate parking are provided for persons, especially VIPs, dignitaries, and the general public at large.
I'm not sure where you want us to start, but that very concern was raised yesterday by some listeners and viewers, the issue of parking / the necessary accommodations at events. And let's talk about that, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter when or whatever's happening, the safety of the populace remains of paramount importance to the outcome.
Of course, and that is our responsibility, to protect life and property, and safety is one of those high on the agenda, and we must ensure that persons get to their destination safely, and also when they're packed at events, that their vehicles, valuables, and so forth are safe as well.
What are some of the recommendations? What are you saying to the people? What's the message? How do you stay safe?
Well, there's a lot of ways that we can stay safe, because we know when you park at events, mischievous persons tend to vandalize your vehicle, or even try to go away with your vehicles, because around that time we have a number of reports of stolen vehicles, and we want to minimize that, or if by extension have no reports at all, based on those tips that we will provide to you as drivers, and once you take heed to those, then definitely we will see no report, or if there is, we'll be able to recover or have some form of enforcement in that process.
I know you would agree with me, officer, that persons that find themselves on the other side of the law, the victims as it is, it could be because you say for wanton behavior by deviant individuals. And sometimes those you may or may not have control over, but you can. Because you know there's always the issue of the crime triangle.
Yes, there is.
And there's also, and that very often becomes one of the critical factors. What can I do? What can you do? What can anybody do to make sure that they keep their property protected?
Well, one of the elements, and you mentioned the triangle, because one of them is availability. Because if there is no means of doing something, then you know that element is removed.
Right.
So, because we already know that criminals already have the ability to commit crime.
Right.
So right now, as individuals, we have to remove the aspect of the availability of the whatever the person intend to move away with or whatever crime. So that aspect we have to remove as patrons, as drivers, as law-abiding citizens of Grenada.
And in moving ahead, let's get practical. How and what should a person do in order to eliminate? Let's assume I'm going to an event, and whether or not there is parking provided, or I am just choosing to park wherever I so desire. What's some of the things that an individual should be cognizant of in terms of should do, the do's and don'ts?
Yes. So we're going to let you know what you should and shouldn't do. But it is not limited to those that we're going to speak about this morning.
Right.
So persons should, as much as possible, park in well-lit areas. So you park on the street light, or you park to someone's house, or some way that it is visible that your vehicle can be seen, or if anybody try to tamper or move away with your vehicle, they can be seen as well. Right. And so if somebody else see, they can report it to the police, or maybe cameras and so forth. It can be persons can be visible and easily seen as well.
Right. And while you're at that, though, maybe it's what is needed, though, that individuals should start planning ahead of time in terms of and scouting the area for available parking. If I go when I go to my event, where am I going to park? Yesterday, one of an individual called and they spoke of the culture in Grenada. Yes. While some promoters would provide parking, we just like to be late. No, sorry, not we. I'm going to say we as Grenadians. You know, there's that culture.
Yes.
The show is supposed to start at 10. But we only show up 2 o'clock in the morning. Where do you figure everybody there?
Oh, that's the peak time of the show. So
but while that's the peak time for the show,
it might be peak time for criminal activities
as well. And you may not get the best available parks that's available.
True.
So we say parking in
well-lit areas. Also, if you can afford it, install security alarm on your vehicle. So when people try or attempt to vandalize or even go away with your vehicle, we hear that loud audible sound that will prevent them from going away or vandalizing your vehicle, because once that noise comes on, it will track attention.
Right, naturally.
Yes. So imagine that noise come and somebody will have to think twice before continuing whatever intentions that they have.
Right. Okay.
Yes. Also, install traffic tracking devices on your vehicle if you can afford it as well. So if your vehicle has been stolen or taken away, you can check on your device and see where the location of your vehicle, so that it can be retrieved, and you can assist police in the investigation going forward once your vehicle has been stolen.
I'm seeing some individuals, I know naturally some people, they always get sus when you start telling them to engage in anything that somehow they think that seems as if it's putting them in additional expense. The reality of it is that whether it's your home, your vehicle, it's your property, whatever it is, you need to invest in keeping it safe.
Of course. And it's not just only for the fact that it is also for a peace of mind and security.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, being a victim to car theft, it traumatizes one, especially if you have to park another time in an area where it might not be conducive to park and so forth.
Right.
And you may have valuables and so forth. And even for your own safety, because you don't know what someone's intention is. If they had met you there, or you have met them maybe trying to or attempting to move away with your vehicle,
Right.
because I don't want to get caught, and I will protect myself at any means necessary. And sometimes persons get violent and so forth. So our safety is paramount as well.
And you would agree that it may not necessarily have to be in the extreme case that the vehicle gets taken away, but even the vehicle just being damaged or vandalized on a whole.
True. Because sometimes persons who have enemy or persons hold grudges against people for various reasons, and they may see your vehicle parked in a particular place and they'll just key your vehicle for no reason, let out all the air in your tire and so on and so forth.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Well, 40 minutes gone past the hour. For those of you that's just joining the conversation, I want to say a special good morning to those of you that's online. And I've just seen Alistair Ward Sr. I see that you're logging in, Marilyn Gordon and others, Lady Romney and others, Claude McIntosh. We're saying thanks for being part of this morning's conversation. My guest this morning, representing the RGPF Police Constable Troy Paul. And Constable, safety in the context of the carnival season, but those are advice and suggestions that should be maintained at all times.
Yes, all time, not just only for the carnival season, because we don't want persons to let their guards down and say the season is over so that I can just go back to my regular way of doing things. So we have to always be on our guards, especially and adhere to those tips so that we can prevent, because criminals don't have a holiday.
Well, the truth is, on holidays, that's when they tend to work overtime.
Of course.
I mean, we laugh at it, but that's the reality.
True, the irony of it. Yes,
the irony is that while we attend these holidays from work and we tend to be relaxed and enjoying ourselves, that's when they see there's an opportunity to work overtime.
Most definitely.
Okay, so we're talking about safety. We're talking about ensuring you park in well lit areas. What are some of the other tips?
If persons can you also use immobilizing devices on the vehicle, so that if persons attempt to move over the vehicle, then they cannot do that, because the immobilizing device locks your wheels, some even lock your entire computer system. So if someone attempts, they would not be able to move away with your vehicle. They may have to maybe I shouldn't say that, but immobilizing devices are good as well.
An excellent point has been made here via social media, and it has to do with the fact that Carnival is a culture that's, when it comes to Carnival, the music and the strong lyrical content that promotes bad behavior. And I know some would probably say, may disagree, or they may have varied positions.
Some may say it's our culture.
It's our culture, but it's do what you want. It's Carnival, just do what you want. And then the strong influence of the consumption of alcohol, and you know how that inhibits people's judgment.
Definitely.
That's another factor that has to be dealt with by RGPF, by the RGPF.
Yes, and most definitely, because we want to employ persons, don't drink and drive. I don't know how much or how many times we will have to say it. Not just only for the carnival season, do not drink and drive. Because as you said, it impedes one's judgment and to make a proper decision. Driving already is a maneuver that requires a level of focus.
Due care and attention at all times.
Due care and attention at all times. It is also an offense to drive under the influence. Once you've been suspected and caught and you're over the limit, a breathalyzer test will be administered to you. And once you're over the limit of 70 micrograms of alcohol in 100 milliliters of breath, you will be arrested by the authorities, because it is a no-no. Because we know what can happen, the outcome of driving under the influence. The worst case scenario, fatalities, and that's what we don't want. Our statistics already start increasing, and we do not want our statistics to continue to increase by the way of reckless drivers and so forth on the road.
And I can always see, because as human beings, naturally we tend to always want to challenge the status quo as tools, and you hear persons saying, well, because that's the level, there's a minimum amount that I'm allowed to, I wouldn't drink too much. But the question is, you have no idea what or who you're going to meet on the road.
True.
And how whatever measure of alcohol that's in your system will inhibit your ability to react to whatever you meet out there.
True, because persons need to know that, and there's alcohol affects the body differently depending on how much you consume. One, how your diet for the particular day,
True.
your body mass, and your how regular you consume alcohol.
Right.
All these are factors that will affect how the alcohol affects your body. But however, you can drink the same amount today and it doesn't affect you much. But the same amount you drink another day can have will have serious repercussion on your body or affect how you do things.
And the medical experts they can always get into that. But let's just put it this way: you start off, let's say, Queen Show. Mm-hmm. Most times that's when you start Queen Show, and there's a build up, and you're going. You're going to started with Queen Show, and your carnival is going to end with Last Lap.
Yes.
You partying, lack of sleep, lack of proper diet.
Yes.
As the timeline increases, it starts to take a toll on your body.
Of course.
So that's the very point that you're making.
Yes.
Tonight you might be perfectly fine.
True.
Because you were just up for a couple hours, you were in Queen Show, and you were seated and well relaxed, so your body can able to conserve energy. But when you start to hit those other jump up sessions,
those overnight shows.
Thank you. The overnight ones that's leaving you, you're leaving the venue at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. That's where the problem comes in.
Yes. And to add to it, you had a few alcohol beverage.
You had a few.
Yes.
And when we say alcohol, we're not just referring to because you had start seeing people saying, well, I had something soft as a beer.
Yeah, I had 2 beers.
Whether it's a beer or the hard
there's
heavy
alcohol.
liquor,
Yes.
alcohol is alcohol.
Alcohol is alcohol. There's percentage, and
Right.
it adds up.
It adds up.
Yes.
It adds up.
Yes.
On the issue of safety, though, you do offer recommendations, though, to persons if you do decide designated driver, carpooling,
and so forth. Because what you just mentioned, fatigue driving. Because at the end of the day, our bodies will be tired.
Yes.
And we know once the body says or gives you sign, we have to respect it. And sleep is no respect of person. And persons who've been reveling, as Super Flying Feet say, and you're going shows after show, make sure you take adequate rest between shows. And if you're tired before you go home and you have to drive, please pack up, take that necessary rest, recuperate,
Right.
and then go ahead. Because we see from after shows that persons end up in persons' property, they end up in rivers, they end up in
And I'm sure it was not
iron poles and
it
so
wasn't
forth.
the intention to have a bath in the
They
river.
just want to get home safely to get that rest.
And very often that's the challenge, because the body, when you're tired.
Definitely.
The body starts to tell you, JC, you need sleep.
Yes.
But very often, that innate behavior in you says to you, I can beat it.
I can beat it. So we ignore the signs of our bodies.
Right.
And then we say, well, I can make it. And then little do you know, your eye just close. One blink.
Just only a couple of months ago, a gentleman, he had an accident right next to me in Springs, and he says he knew he had a little bit too much in him, so he started himself. He's going to take his time, drive slowly, it's late, and he's going to get home. And then he says to me, I don't know what happened.
Yes. Just as simple
For a
as that.
split second, his eyes were shut, and he ended up hitting one of the OPMs on the side of the, and that was it.
Yes. So you see somebody's property is damaged, and looking at it now, we're looking at the cost effect. One accident is already costly. You have to talk about damages to vehicles, damages to other person's property, the logistical issue in terms of paperwork and all these things behind it. It is costly because insurance have to pay out and so forth. And just looking at it generally.
So attempting to say, officer, that I am going to drive faster, because I hear all kind of logics.
All kind of
hear
logics.
all kind of logic. Some say they put on loud music.
Yeah.
It keeps them company.
They tap the steering wheel.
The steering wheel. Some say they
turn on the AC.
The AC.
Or
they get the fresh air. It keeps their eyes open. You hear
Whatever
all
it is.
sort of stories. But the reality is, what your body may react to and respond to when you're well rested, and you're reasonably. Your body is in a reasonable state, as you said, or with a little bit of extra alcohol in you, you're tiredness, it becomes a challenge to you.
It is also a risk,
An unnecessary risk.
a high risk
Right.
that we don't want to take.
A high risk that we do not want to take. Again, we want to say good morning to those of you that is on social media. This question coming via social media, and we'll take a break in just a while, is that what is done to people who host roadside events and the patrons choose to damage vehicles as they're passing through? And that was raised yesterday, officer.
Yes, that would be vandalism. You damage somebody's property, so you also damage the property. And once person is caught, you can be arrested and charged for the offense of damage to property. Come on, why would you want to see somebody's vehicle? You want to damage somebody's vehicle? Come on.
And not just in the case where the person's vehicle is parked. Yesterday, the person made the specific draw the scenario. There's always everybody's going to take a jump up at some point. So whether you are wherever you are, and people decide, you know what, they decided they're going to have mass in July. Whether or not the RGPF has given them permission to have mass in July,
yes.
They have it mass in July. And there am I, traversing the road, minding my own business, and they decide, you know what, I'm trying to get home, but Springs is theirs. So they're going to stop in the middle of the road, and I'm trying to pass, and they want to sit on your vehicle, and all sort of nonsense.
So we have unnecessary obstruction because vehicles may want to pass and they may have loud music playing because they're enjoying their time, and they negligently or even intentionally
Right.
obstruct the traffic. So you have loud music, you have obstruction, and then you see people jumping on top of vehicle and they're doing all sorts of things that is, I don't want to say unethical, but things that is
stupid. I know, officer. You try to be nice about it. Your role is to be nice. It's not my role to my role to be nice. My role is just to get it out, right? You make stupid. You do things that's really stupid.
Yes.
Nonsensical, illogical, and you then endanger the life of somebody.
True.
Are those arrestable offenses?
It all depends on how it is viewed and how you look at it, because at the end of the day, persons jumping on, because sometimes persons jump on vehicles and those vehicles are moving, and we see the vehicle might be moving slowly and the persons there on the vehicle gyrating or dancing to popular music and so forth. These things are dangerous, and person can fall off the vehicle and you never know, the vehicle pass on them, road fatality.
Who takes responsibility?
And the driver has an obligation as well, even the person, for their safety as well. So we need to look at everything, because as well as the driver has his responsibility, pedestrians and persons using the road or revelers have a responsibility for their safety as well. And if you are at fault, then you have to stand the necessary consequences. So, but we these are the things that we do not want to see around those times, because it is negligent, and it have repercussions. So we want to advise against these sort of things. Please let us have good practice habits and so forth.
I think most people, they tend to leave their better judgment at home when they go into an event. I say at all times, carry your better judgment with you.
Yes.
And your better judgment should not include weapons, should it? While we at it. Because for some reason,
that's a no-no.
Of individuals going to enjoy a party. I can't imagine, what's his name? He did that song, Steve Theodore.
Yes.
You go to a party to enjoy yourself. You know what? I don't understand where a knife, a cutlass, an ice pick, or any one of those offensive weapons becomes part of the tools that you need to enjoy yourself in a party.
No. What you need to go out, make sure you are spending money. You have your ticket. You have your VEX money.
Yeah, don't forget. Yes, officer, yes.
But what we don't want is knives, cutlass, guns, ice picks, or any offensive weapon at any event.
Right.
This is a no. It is a no, and once you caught with it at an event, or going to an event, coming from an event, or wherever close to an event, you will be arrested and charged.
What if, officer, I have a justifiable reason, because I hear all kind of stories where people start to justify why they have a cutlass or some other object that can be deemed to be offensive. Well, they have a couple of screwdrivers because I'm an electrician. They have a Mark 9 because I this and that.
I hope you're not speaking about while at an event or attending an event or so forth, or because at the end of the day,
Or even in the vehicle.
Well, the justifiable part would be if someone is coming from work, but you're not going to an event,
right,
and you're telling me that you have either one of these offensive weapons.
But what if I get a call out, officer?
You get a call out?
Yeah, I'm making a jam, but somebody called me in the middle of the night and tell me, JC, I want to make a hustle. But I'm assuming that's where the discretion.
Yeah, there will be discretion, and once it can be justifiable.
Right.
But then at the end of the day, there's a thin line
between justification.
So think twice. You
don't want to. I often say for me personally, I do not want any officer to meet me, have to stop me, meet me anyway, and ask me any question unnecessarily. So I will abide, recognize I know my rights. I don't want the police stop me and ask me, JC, where you going, where you come out, what you have there. I don't want the police to ask me any unreasonable question unless it has to be good morning. I think if we take that approach, you know what? I don't want the police. Well, police may just stop us because anyway, do random
stuff. They may have where the RGPF may suspect persons who may have offensive weapons and so on, and you may have traffic checks,
right?
From time to time. But it's the responsibility of the police to ensure enforcement along the roads and to make sure that persons get to their destination safely. Because persons look at those things as why police harassing people at that time, but not knowing that we are providing that necessary safety and security going to events or coming from an event.
Yeah, because I mean, one thing, if you head into in a particular direction and you notice that the police, they do random checks, automatically, if you know naturally that you have implements or anything that can be deemed as being,
yes,
you will start thinking twice.
Of course.
Boy, better I turn back. Let me get rid of it. So the very presence of a police presence, it helps to make one feel a bit safer.
Yes, and it makes criminal uncomfortable as well.
Right.
So before you think about attempting or even considering the fact that I should work with something that is prohibited, think twice. The RGPF will be out in our glory. We will be out in our glory.
Well,
law enforcement will be out.
Unless you determine that it is okay to spend the night in one of those nice comfy cells by yourself, then you go right ahead.
Right ahead.
Then we'll always say, let your better judgment prevail. Yes. 29 minutes on to the hour of 10 o'clock to the point for today, the 20th day of July. We take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we continue with the conversation right here on Classic Radio and GBN Television.
After 2 years of no mass, no bacchanal, and no vibe, are you ready to be thrilled again? Well, get ready for Amazing Colors Monday Night Mass. And this year will be the most amazing return ever. Amazing Colors presents Trilogy. Wanna play Monday Night Mass? Then it's easy. Call 415-6174. It's Amazing Colors Trilogy. Unlimited drinks all night. It's Amazing Colors Trilogy. Monday Night Mass. It will be amazing.
Vaccines protect you and they protect me. Getting vaccinated is one of the most important things you can do to keep yourself and your family safe and healthy. Once enough people are immunized, opportunities for an outbreak of disease becomes very low. And if we all choose to get vaccinated, we contribute in getting back to spending quality time with our loved ones in a safe way. Choose to get vaccinated. Vaccines bring us closer.
you. Welcome back to the program. 27 minutes on to the hour of 10 o'clock, which is to the point. My guest this morning, for those of you that's just joining us, is Police Constable Troy Paul, and conversation really and truly surrounds keeping ourselves safe, not just ourselves but the general public, the role of the IGPF during the festive season. And now we're going to segue to events, because there's a lot of planned events, whether at the National Stadium or wherever it is, and certainly wherever these events are, authorization must be sought. Once authorization is given, you can expect that the IGPF would ensure that is not a measure, but full compliance will be adhered to, and that there's rules that governs parking and how you behave at those events.
Of course, and we mentioned too as well earlier on that the traffic department, the RGPF has a plan for those events, and we want to make sure that our plans are executed to the T.
Right.
Although sometimes it does not go as planned, but at the end of the day, we have a plan in place,
right,
and we want persons to comply with the plan as well. We know that Spice must have events, and we have some at the National Stadium, and the plan for the traffic arrangement for the National Stadium we're starting as early as the Children Frolic and all those shows at the National Stadium. Persons may want to know where I should and shouldn't park.
Right.
So the following are designated no parking areas. So persons should not park in those areas once there are shows at the National Stadium for the carnival season. The following: the entire Ring Road, that's the area, Grenlec area there around that will be deemed no parking. The River Road from its junction with Lacqua Brothers Crematorium to Purcell Lumberyard. So from the crematorium go right up to Purcell Lumberyard, that is no parking as well. Cherry Hill Public Road from the Grenada Welders to its junction with Melville Street. So from Cherry Hill go right down to Melville Street, the fish market area will be no parking.
Okay.
So yes, also Melville Street from its junction with River Road to the National Lottery office, that would be no parking as well. Cemetery Hill, no parking, and also Mount Rush Public Road. So all these places that I've mentioned will be deemed no parking, and we will also reinforce it where cones and so forth, so persons will know exactly. Persons who do not maybe not hearing your show this morning will know that these areas are deemed no parking.
So let me ask, because I know our people. They hear the no parking areas and they start to fret already. Well, yes. hello, officer JC, what's wrong with you? They are designated parking areas, but it also brings into focus the need for public parking as well.
Of course. So don't let the no parking areas prevent you or deter you from going to enjoy one of your favorite shows or shows that you're interested in. Also, we have areas deemed for parking. Right. And the following areas is designated parking areas for VIP, such as the Governor General, Prime Minister, parliamentarians, and other VIP, the persons who may not have that status but have VIP. So for the VIPs, Governor General and so forth, the parking area close to the VIP stand. So that would be closer, that area behind that stadium where those VIP boxes are, you will be able to park in that area closer to your...
And those areas will be clearly marked out and demarcated, so persons will know.
Yeah, so once you attend or you're attending those events, there will be police officers stationed in various points to assist persons to let them know where they can park, depending on what ticket you have, depending on your status, and so on. So it will make it a lot easier. So you're there, you ask the police officer, I have a ticket holder, general, whether VIP, or we see dignitaries, such as Governor General. We know exactly where they should be parked, and we will direct them to the parking area.
So, and as such, you would also want to ensure that persons, whatever tickets or whatever you have that indicates your status, walk with it.
Yes, please.
Don't be like JC and say, officer, it's me now.
Yeah, so if you're giving a VIP pass, walk with your VIP pass. Don't say you forget it home and the police supposed to see that you have a visa face.
A visa like that.
So work with it. That is the only way we can verify that you have that status when entering those shows.
I always think I have a visa face.
Unless for dignitaries and so forth, where we know those persons, so we allow them to attend whether or not they have, because most of these persons, the parliamentarians, the governor general, everybody is already established.
Right.
So, yes, so we're moving on. For invited guests and sponsors, the parking area close to the media pavilion at Gate 6. And Gate 6 is that area closer to the Mount Rush area,
right?
The National Cricket Stadium, that entrance there. So you're passing there, and then once you state your status, we'll let you know where you park. So the parking area close to the media pavilion at Gate 6. Right. For the general public, we have the Wesley College ground. We have a portion of Gate 6, that same area where the media and sponsors go in at. So we will designate an area there where persons will be parked.
Right.
The general public can park, and also the concrete area of the athletic stadium, the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Right. So that entire area there will be parking for the general public. So be mindful of where you should park, so you know exactly where you will be, where you have to pass. So you wouldn't have to be making rounds around the stadium and you're getting frustrated because you attempt to park in another area and the police tell you we have to go back there, and then you start to get frustrated. So
and you would agree that's why it's important that you plan your events.
Of course.
Plan your arrival, plan your departure. And I know the people that they do that to the letter of to the T. You know, when they decide, listen, show is finishing at 10, at 9:30.
Yes.
I'm exiting the stadium, because you don't want to find yourself in a rush when everybody's leaving the stadium. And
that traffic congestion causes impatient drivers, and we know persons get frustrated and so forth. Yes, so be mindful of the areas that persons should park. So for VIP, your area is close to the VIP stand. For sponsors and guests, in Gate 6, the parking area close to the media pavilion. And for the general public, we have the Wesley College ground, a portion of Gate 6, and the concrete area and the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. However, persons must be mindful that if you park in areas that is deemed no parking, you will be towed away at your own expense of a fee of $125, and the police would not be responsible for your vehicle or any damage caused once your vehicle is towed away. And the expense of $125, where you could have used that money for something important and necessary.
We have a caller that is on the line. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Good morning, Joe. Troy, good program. Very, very informative. I want to be your partner. And just want clarity on something, because I know that right now, for example, they're doing some work in the VIP, where the VIPs would normally park. That's by the stadium, the long wall they are erecting there as part of the flood mitigation project. Would that area would it still be accessible for VIPs? Because I know I've been there up there yesterday and no one cannot enter that area. And secondly, just a suggestion, partner, there's a long cable that is stabilizing the utility pole. Yeah. Right.
We lost you for the last 15 seconds. You said something about a cable.
Yes, I was saying, Joe, there's a long cable that stabilizes a utility pole in the Wesley College ground area. Eyewitness person, someone mashed up their vehicle on that pole, on the cable, because at night you could barely see. So I'm going to just ask Troy and his guys just wrap some caution tape around it, and I think you good to go. That's basically.
Thanks a lot, comrade.
Yes, thank you, caller, for your observation, your comments, and so on. The traffic, as I said, we have a plan, and there is a designated area where, because before putting together a plan, we must have site visits to ensure that whatever that we intend to implement will be implemented. And the area for the VIP, there will be areas where, despite the work is going on, there will be a designated area where those VIPs and so on will be able to park.
And
so rest assured that we have that covered under our plan as well.
And I'm assuming we can well assume that if for any reason that plan you have to veer from that pre-established plan, that you will use these platforms like these to notify the general public of the change in those plans for whatever reason.
Definitely, and because at the end of the day we know plans at time we plan, but then we have unforeseen circumstances that may cause it to But once we do, we will try our best to notify the general public so that they can be aware before attending those events, so that they can know how to prepare themselves before going to those events. And secondly, where the caller mentioned in terms of where persons the wire or so forth, we will definitely look into it and take preventative measures so that what he alluded to, we do not see that reoccurring in the future. So thank you very much for your observation as well, caller.
And I think just as a general word of caution, I'm assuming it will be dealt with in due course, that the general public be aware. Be aware. I mean, when you're going to park, as with any other event, you want to survey your surroundings.
Of course.
And make sure that you're not in any way putting yourself or your vehicle or your family or anything at risk. We started off though to talking about the no parking areas.
Yes.
The Mount Rush, the Ring Road from by Grand Lake. Is that for the entire period of Spice Mass? Is it a designated time of the day, or is it just specifically on days when there are those established Spice Mass events at the stadium?
Yes, specifically for those Spice Mass events, when these events is carded, because so it is for that particular time. So once we know that Soca Monarch is taking place, those will be in effect. Once we know that whatever show that is held at the National Stadium around those times by Spice Mass, those arrangements will be implemented. And also we want to let persons know the emergency route, that if you have some form of emergency and you have to go to the hospital, your emergency route from the National Stadium is Cemetery Hill onto Church Street and to the General Hospital.
Cemetery Hill, Church Street, General Hospital.
Yes.
Right. And I guess it's for those reasons as well why they are stipulated as
of course,
no parking,
especially Cemetery Hill.
Because
it has always been our emergency route from time immemorial. So no parking whatsoever, especially on the Cemetery Hill, so that we can execute our emergency route and persons can get forward to the hospital or wherever safely in that shortest possible time to save a life.
And for persons who probably are not too acquainted with it, so you exit the National Stadium, you hit Cemetery Hill by Lacqua up to Cemetery Hill. Now, I guess some people are asking, because it's an emergency, what do I do, Constable? Do I continue up Old Fort to the area of the Presentation Brothers College and come down, or do I just decide to head down Church Street?
You can, as I said, because as I've mentioned, Church Street. So I guess Cemetery Hill, Church Street, you go right there because Church Street lead you right to the hospital road. But what persons must also be mindful of, you still have to your safety is important, because remember, also vehicle be flowing in the opposite direction. Even though it is deemed an emergency route, you still have to be cautious while you drive. So you put on your emergency lights and you use your audible devices such as your horn and whatever you can use. If it is where the ambulance, the ambulance have sirens and so on, so persons will be alerted and they pull to the side. But if you do not have the sirens and so forth, you use your horn consistently with the hazard lights and so on, and you proceed safely, cautiously. But that's the shortest possible.
It would be the shortest route, but sometimes I'm thinking it may not always be as practical as it is.
Yes.
Because there are vehicle traversing, which is what is already a one-way street.
True.
Which is already a one-way street, and normally sometimes there's vehicles parked there. But certainly, if you need to, based on the nature of it, put on your hazard light, do whatever you have to do. If not, you probably just have to decide, go up Old Fort, come down, look at street, which would probably just be about a 2 minutes difference anyway. point.
But safety is paramount. Getting to your destination safely, even though you have an emergency.
Which is an excellent point that you're making. There's some individuals that believe because they put on this first instance their hazard light, that I put on my hazard light, it means that all you clear.
The road is mine.
The road is mine. They just cut it through.
Yes.
That's not always the case. 10 minutes on to the hour in the morning time. The number on the inside, 435-2041. Again, we want to say thanks to those of you that's making your contributions via the social media platform. Let's talk about jab, the jab.
Yes.
The jab. Everybody wants to play jab from January to December. I don't know why. I always knew that there's a designated period when jab masquerading is allowed. Let's talk about that for the next few minutes. Officer, what does the law subscribe? What does the law make allowance for when it comes to jab?
Well, once Carnival is launched, so we know that persons can play those necessary mass and so forth once Carnival is launched. But outside of that, they always say we're the jab nation, and we're jabbing with vain. But as I said it too, once Carnival has launched, persons will be able to play jab, and we have Carnival like events up to the from that time of its launching right up to the Carnival season has finished.
So that I don't need any permission or any authority. Do I need permission or authority from the RGPF if I decide, you know what, tomorrow night, you know what, Friday, me and my boys, we go in Snug Corner and session long done.
We must be mindful. We cannot prevent persons from playing or whatever jab mass, whatever it is, but persons might violate other laws, such as loud music. You might have unauthorized music and so forth, where you do not have permission for amplified music. Then persons might want to set up a little bar where they don't have a liquor license, and so on, and the list goes on and on. But
so very often it's not just the issue of, let's say, playing the jab, but the other activities
that comes along with it. Yes.
That could certainly create a challenge. And we go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You are live.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. You're live.
Yes. I would like to ask the officer, please. Years ago, the police used to go around and affix posts on telephone poles and on some prominent buildings. SRO, I don't know the numbers, and SRO telling people the rules and regulations for Carnival. I have not seen that in a very long time. I don't know if the officer is aware of that, and if they would continue to do that, or why it was stopped. Thank you very much.
Important question?
Yes. It is a practice that around Carnival time that the SRO that is mentioned by the caller, that we normally have that. It is most times on all police stations and in certain areas where persons must know what they should and shouldn't do, such as vandalizing persons' property, using animals whether alive or dead, dressing as male, dressing as female, transdress. Yeah, these are under.
I mean, my apologies.
It is part of the Carnival SRO, because once Carnival launch and so forth, these SRO takes effect, and especially Juve morning and so forth. I was just reading it yesterday. So some of the things that I just mentioned, and we normally do have those things stick up at various areas. So what I'll do, I'll look into it again and then see whether not to see, but to ensure that we have them. So persons must know what is expected of them under these SRO for Spice Mass.
And while that might be so, the SROs would make specific referrals to different certain behavior. I kind of chuckled, and I do apologize for that when you made reference to dressing in very gender apparel, because that seems to become the norm. Juve morning, that's what makes it what it is.
We see, but then the SRO, the laws continue to be the laws. We sometimes we see breaches of the law, especially Juve morning, where those few that I've mentioned are in breach.
Right.
But still, the RGPF still have to be in terms of our approach, how we deal with those things and so forth, because people tend to say that's a culture, that's we mass, that's we thing, and so forth and so forth. But the laws still remain the law.
Outdated, probably. And
maybe it's something that we have to go back to the drawing board and see whether or not, but that would have to be for the lawmakers and so forth.
That's a different conversation now, as it is.
But what we want to inform persons that the vandalizing of persons' property, putting oil or attempting to do those things, or even if someone are dabbing persons, and I don't want to be dabbed. Let us respect persons and so forth. That is some of the things the SRO tells us.
That's quite interesting. I mean, and I know there are places that they're thinking, and I think, and before we wrap, because we're almost out of time, I just want to say when it comes to the carnival, and that there should be a mutual approach to it. For us, there's the masqueraders,
yes,
and then there is the spectators. I think sometimes what people want to do, they want to get too close. Listen, you don't want to get oil. Keep a distance.
Yeah.
And most times when you get oil on you, while it might be that random person, I've noticed the person who will probably quicker put oil on you is some more partner of yours, Troy.
True.
You just want to see, hey, do you see what you're doing here?
Yeah.
Come.
And then once they recognize you and you're clean, you have to be dirty. Even they attempt to do it to the police officers, especially on Juve morning.
But it is illegal.
Yes, it is, brother, because you shouldn't attempt to. If you're supposed to respect somebody's their personal space, their rights, and so forth. If I don't want, because sometimes it might be allergic to their skin and all this kind of things. So let us respect persons and so on.
So I know for me, if I get anywhere close to oil, I start sneezing and everything else, and my entire day changes. So Troy, you wouldn't see me anywhere close. If for any given reason I have to be there, believe me, I'm watching from a distance. We're almost out of time, as we literally, but I know this is going to be part of a continuous conversation. Let's again just remind the general public just to offer some general tips. And we did also want to make the suggestion of the need to carpool.
Yes.
As part of carpooling and having a designated driver. You probably just touching those as we wrap.
Yes. So we started this morning where we spoke of persons where you live in your vehicle. We want you to secure your vehicle. Make sure your surroundings are safe. Make sure that you're parking well-lit areas. If you have audio devices and so forth, alarms and so on, GPS, and also always check your surroundings when you leave your vehicle so that you could prevent theft and being vandalized. We spoke on some tips where persons don't drink and drive, have a designated driver, or take a bus. Or if you're fatigued, park your vehicle up rather than attempting to drive in the fatigue state. Offensive weapon, we spoke, it's a no-no for the carnival season. Not just for the carnival season. Not just only for the carnival season, but every day. It's a no-no. So think twice before you think about putting any offensive weapon, such as knives, ice picks, or any device that can be used to harm somebody, in your pocket, in your bag, or in your waist. We also spoke of the traffic arrangement for the National Stadium, where it's deemed parking and no parking for persons. Once you see cones you know that you should not park in those areas. There will be designated parking. There will also be officers at the events. If you do not understand, you speak to them and they'll let you know that the area designated for parking. And if persons do park in areas that is prohibited, you will be towed away or clamped at your own expense of a fee of $125. And we also made mention of the emergency route for the National Stadium, where persons go up to Cemetery Hill, Church Street, and to the General Hospital. Also, your safety is paramount for the carnival season. We don't want you to be statistic, and we want to see you after the season. So let us have safe practice and ensure that after this, as I say, when the carnival over, that we'll be able to greet our friends and see a brighter day.
Indeed. Again, thank you, Police Constable Troy Noel.
Paul, it is.
Try Paul.
Yes, don't change.
Noel is not here. Noel is not here with us this morning. And just as a word of caution too, I know persons are trying to attempt to pack. If you want to use, you always assume if you want to use somebody's private driveway to park, get permission from them.
True.
I had a friend of mine that only recently ended up in that quagmire. Well, I went to see it was just a driveway. Hello, you don't know. I want the gentleman. He came home and he decided, okay, you all park up here. He parked his vehicle.
So he blocked the person.
It's my private. It's a private road. That's a private property, and that's a good way too in terms of safety. I know I'm home and the person's gonna live right on the main road, and the person said, "JC, I'm taking a park in your yard."
Yes.
Okay, fine.
No, fine. Yeah,
fine.
Also.
So what would happen if I'm there and I see something happening? I would come and say,
I would look out for your vehicle as well.
And say, listen, okay, fine.
Also cater for emergency needs. Sometimes the person have an emergency, you block them. So if you do that and we get that report, they can be towed away, clamped, and the same $125 to recover your vehicle.
I think it just comes down to the whole issue of respect. You want to park in somebody's yard, you're mostly going to say good night, good morning, I'm just parking here for a is it okay that I can park here for a fact? And most persons would probably say, yeah, but imagine you just come into the middle of the night and you recognize your vehicle's on the inside and somebody decides, you know what, I'm just going to block your driveway.
Yes, that is obstruction, and you can be charged as well for negligence, obstruction, and your vehicle can be towed away.
What happens if it's a real emergency and I decide to find mechanical ways to get you out of my driveway? Please don't answer. Don't answer that.
Just call the police and we'll take care of it.
Call the police and you'll take care of it.
Definitely.
Thank you, Constable. We want to say thanks to all our listeners, all our viewers, to you wherever you are. Indeed, it's always a pleasure being here with you. We say thanks to Troy and all the other members of the RGPF, and encourage you as we go deeper into the carnival season that you plan, you make preparations for attending events and getting away from events, knowing the parking, no parking areas. And again, we always say to you that alcohol, it's a no-no. Do not drink and drive. If you want to drink water, all I say, when you go out to an event, drink water, mind your business. And if you do decide that you have to drink, then we're all encouraged you have a designated driver. Until then, so long, everybody. JC Love.